All right. Wow. So I get to be the last thing you forget. Okay, so I am going to try today, I just made a little pivot right now to really try to take what we've done in talking about impact and just try to tell you some stories about the importance of the customer in the center. So my name is Christian Idiodi. I am one of 3 product partners at Silicon Valley Product Group. And as I started to think about this talk, I started to look at how much digital disruption has drove the paranoia around digital transformation. And when I was like, what does that truly mean? I reflected back on when I was in boarding school. I will write a letter to my parents and say, hi, Mom and Dad, how are you? I hope you're fine. I am broke. Please send me $2. And I put it in the mail, and it takes 10 days to get to them. And then it takes 10 days for them to send it back to me with $2, and I am dead by that time. And I look at my kids, and right before I got here, I had having a teenager, and he sent me a little Venmo request. And it's like, I need money. But a whole generation has gone where the mail, there are groups of people that don't even know how to truly send mail. And all you do when you think about mail, you think about bills and sales material. And nobody writes letters that way. You use email and instant chat and messengers and Slack and all those instant communication tools. Most people don't know this. Hopefully everybody knows this. I pick on Blockbuster because I remember doing my MBA, and Blockbuster was my client to represent ourselves in school. And we thought we had come up with the best idea ever for Blockbuster. We said, look, we are seeing set-top boxes in everyone's house. Wouldn't it be cool if you had Blockbuster on your set-top box and you could rent a movie directly from the box? And the CEO, the executives of Blockbuster at this point, this is a stupid idea. Give those kids an F. They don't know anything about our business. Blockbuster is a community experience. On date night, you want to take your date in and walk into our store. You want to have our cashier tell you all about the cool things, about the best movies to see in the world, and in a blip. This happened, right? They get the famous, and you see a company go from $6 billion to bankrupt in less than 6 years. This concept of being disrupted by Netflix. Redbox came in before that, and then Netflix with the mailing. And believe it or not, if you don't know this story, Netflix offered themselves to Blockbuster for $50 million, like, buy me, we are running out of cash. And Blockbuster laughed. The same thing. You're crazy. Nobody will ever do this thing. And now they are worth $20 billion, and they are bankrupt. I see the same thing with libraries and encyclopedias and all the places of learning. And I look at my kids and I say, where do they all get knowledge today? Oh boy, Google. Now, you know what's even worse about this? I feel like I'm raising a whole generation of dumb kids because they have to know nothing in the world. All they have to know is how to ask the right question. Alexa, what time is it? Hey, Google, what's the weather outside? Hey, where's the New York Product Conference? How far is it to the mall? They don't have to know a single thing. They just have to know how to ask the right question. And this has become the template of the most valuable companies in the world. Amazon, Google, Alexa, and all of these companies, people want to be like these companies. And why? Hey, people think, well, did Amazon just become Amazon overnight? They think about it. I want to evolve my company to be this. And then they realize maybe we can't. Maybe we have to transform ourselves into that kind of business. And so what's at the root of all of this? Well, companies don't want to take the leap, many times because they think about revenue and cost. And the cost of transforming a business from what you are today to a business that can either disrupt an industry or be innovative requires what? Money. You have to invest in technology or people you don't have today to transform yourself to a company of the future. But people do it to drive revenue and to drive cost, and nobody wants to take the plunge in the dip. Now, regardless, this is true for the most innovative companies in the world, that regardless of the strategy, there's an ultimate focus on a better experience for the user and for the customer. I hear people talk about this a whole lot. Customer, customer, customer. Focus on the customer. It's the crux of product management. And why? I want to be pointed about this to product managers. The person, the people, the group within your organization that has the most power are the people or the groups or individuals that are perceived to have the best knowledge of the customer. I have worked with hundreds of companies around the world. And when a company says, hey, I'm sales-led, or we're led by marketing, or operations leads us, that just simply means the organization believes that the group that represents the customer the most is that group. And that has to be the ultimate goal for product managers. So I figured I'll spend my time telling you stories, like real stories, in my personal experience about the customer at the center. First story is know your customer. I joined a company a while back to head up product, an hourly job board. It was a place designed for hourly workers to find jobs with employees. We're talking restaurant and retail jobs around the world. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm going to head up product. When was the last time I was an hourly worker? Well, that was in college. I worked at a gas station. That's a long time ago. So when I joined the company, I didn't spend my time with the exec team or with my team. I walked to the unemployment office. And I watched people lining up to find a job. And I walked to a guy over there, and I introduced myself. Hi, Brad. I said, hi, my name is Brad. I said, look, I see you're looking for a job. Are you looking for a job? It's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I would love to spend some time learning about what you go through. In exchange, I'll do everything in my power. I just joined this company to use technology to help you, but I have no clue what that means. But I will love to spend my time shadowing you. Now, this is not a research study. It meant at 7 o'clock the next morning, I woke up and I drove to Brad's house. And I sat there as Brad showered. And I watched Brad come out of his stuff, say, hi, this is Wed, you're here. I am here. And I watched him go next door because Brad did not have the internet. He had to go to his neighbor's house to get on a computer to apply for jobs. It meant me following Brad to every single interview that he had and sitting outside and watching him come out and tell me how it went and what didn't go well and what didn't go so well. I didn't do or say anything besides just be in Brad's shoes. Now, about 20 days later, Brad found a part-time job. And I'm like, yeah, mission accomplished. And Brad's like, no, this doesn't pay my bills. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, I need to find another job. You mean you're underemployed? I didn't even know there was something like that. Okay, and we keep going. And now it's Thanksgiving. And so guess what? Brad comes to my house for Thanksgiving. And my kids are all freaking out, like, who is this guy over here? I am focused on a deep knowledge, and I walked through Brad's process for over 80 days to truly understand what it means to go from no job to a job before the first day I stepped back into the company, prior to actually doing the work of product. Now, when I got to the company, the first decision I did was not to build a product, but actually to stop one, because they had been working on a very long time on a big problem that they uncovered. Do you know how hard it is for job seekers to catch their paycheck? We are going to make it so that it's super easy and they can do it online. And they will pay us $35 to do it, and the market size is great, and the financials look great, and we're all going to be rich. And I said, well, I remember Brad's first paycheck, $78.30. We are going to take $35 of that to solve the problem because he's unbanked or underbanked and solve it digitally. First decision was not in creating new value, but preventing something that did not reflect a deep understanding of the customer. Regardless of what you're trying to do, when I talk about a deep understanding of the customer, that's how deep I'm talking. Thanksgiving and showers. Now, interestingly enough, we can't count on our customers to tell us what to build. This is super important and foundational because I get people that get stuck in this idea of like, well, you told me to stuck with customers, so I spend all my time with customers, and nobody told me exactly what I want to do here. Like, I wonder why. If they knew what to do, they would have done it already. But I want to be clear about what this thinking means, right? We are paid as product people to actually solve problems. Spending time with customers is actually important in identifying and defining those problems, right? Disney spent $1 billion on an Imagitorium, kind of their innovation lab, and they had a very critical problem. They realized people stopped coming to Disney World. Now, how many people here have been to Disney World? How many people have been in the summer? How many people have stood in line 1 hour and 15 minutes for a 15-second ride? You know what I'm talking about. You don't go back to Disney the next year. This is not a great conversation because your kids are all going to be like, well, we forgot about it. We've never been to Disney before. Right after you leave. You know, and if you're like my daughter, it's like, I want to stay for the fireworks, Dad. And then at like 7:30, they're all passed out. And you now have to carry them 15 miles to the parking lot in it. So yes, so Disney was losing people coming back. And so they spent $1 billion building a lab. It's a very weird place if you ever have a chance to go there because they actually built fake homes within this lab. And they actually have a fake mailman come to your house and deliver mail. And they bring families to live in these homes. And they just observe them. They play. They play like a Disney commercial on TV and they watch if people are excited and they monitor responses. You know, Steve Jobs said, hey, look, we could do lots of focus groups. Nobody wants an iPhone. Same thing with Bezos. If I ask all the customers, no one wants Amazon Prime. Same thing here. They just wanted to truly understand the problem and define it well. Not looking to the customers for the solutions on what to build, but to truly understand the problem. And now, if you go to Disney.com and you sign up for the premium experience, when you go to a Disney resort, when you walk in, if your kids love Cinderella, Cinderella welcomes them. You're like, this is very weird. They give you like an app. It's all personalized to you. You can say, I want to ride this ride at 3 o'clock. It's like Fast Pass with the band, and you just walk in at 3 o'clock. You don't have to wait in line. Fundamentally transforming their business from this deep understanding of the customer, but not the reliance on the customer for the solution. We're tracking? All right. Next story. So, back again in my Snagajob days. I've done this a long time. And I truly love this technique, and I credit this as being the single biggest source of my product success in my career. So you got to pay attention to this. And the technique is simple. You discover and develop the solution at the same time as you're discovering and developing the customer. Sounds crazy. Let's talk about it. So, I joined this company and I had a relationship. I had worked at a company called Career Builder for years, and I had built many products that we all use today in finding jobs. And so the CEO of the head of staffing of a very famous brand, Starbucks, calls me, and they say, well, look, I have a problem. We just bought a company in the Bay Area, and we realized that about 700 of the employees may be illegal workers. And so we haven't announced this deal yet, but the second we do, you can imagine the whole backlash and news that will come out of this. And we know that when we call for papers, we're going to lose 700 employees overnight. And it's like, wow, that's a serious problem. It's like, yeah, it's a serious problem. Can you help me with this problem? And I said, how much are you willing to pay for this solution? It's like, what do you need? I said, $1 million? He said, stop kidding. I said, 400,000? It's like, if you solve it, I'm sure I can pay you that. I was like, wow. I was like, well, I'll call you back. And I go to my CEO and I say, look, I think I have a $400,000 opportunity here. And here's what I need from you. I need just one product designer and one engineer. Like to do what? Just to hang out. And so we get this group together and I say, let's try to break the problem down. What's really going on here? Starbucks needs to hire a high volume of people in a short amount of time. That's the problem here. They've got to hire 800 people in 1 week. And I was like, who else has this problem? It's like, we don't know. Well, let's get in the car. So we jumped in the car and we just started driving around, aimlessly, just driving around. And we're driving around the city. We see a new construction, a new McDonald's coming up. It's like, maybe they hire lots of people at a McDonald's. What do you think? Well, I don't know. Let's go ask them. And so we walk out And we start talking to the people out there, and so happens the operations director in the area is out there, and he's like, yes. I say, so tell me, when you plan to open up the McDonald's? He's like, look, this is a painful thing. Every day we are building, we lose money. So the second the toilet is finished, we open up McDonald's because we need to start making money. And you know what's crazy? We need 120 people on opening day. I'm like, 120 people? He's like, yes, because half of them don't show up to work the first day. I'm like, this is crazy. It's a whole new problem. And I'm like, that's really curious. It's like, so look, hiring is a pain. We've got to hire them as soon as we're ready, and we have to hire 120 people. I was like, nice to know. We get back in the car. We keep driving around. We stop, we see the mall. The mall is big. Maybe they hire lots of people. So we go in the mall and we're talking to people. We talk to the Macy's store and they say, yes, during the holiday season, we have to hire 1,000 people at Macy's because you all love to shop. It's like, okay. And it's crazy. If you think about all the Macy's around the world, that's almost like 20,000 people we have to hire for all the companies. It's like, what do you do? It's like, it's a pain. We start hiring 6 months out. We need part-timers. We need night shift. It's like, this is a real problem. So it seems like this problem exists. And what are the solutions out there? There's not a real carved-out solution for this. It's like, well, let's try to solve it. It's like, but we don't have any solution. Well, let's go back to the McDonald's person. He's about to open up the store. Let's go see if you want to help. So we go back and say, look, we plan to help you with this. It's like, so how am I going to pay for this? I'm like, well, for everybody you hire, you pay me like $10? He's like, sure, go for it. I was like, okay. So we go back to the office and we start to write on a whiteboard all the things a solution could look like. And we tell him, we will try to hire, set up interviews for you the next week. We go back for the interviews. We feel very proud of ourselves. We had scheduled 80 interviews. It's 9 o'clock. We have 5 people expected to show up. Nobody shows up. 10 o'clock, we have another 5 people. 1 person shows up. We end the day and we only hire 8 people. We look ourselves and we say, well, we're in the wrong business. And the manager is pretty happy and upbeat. I was like, this was a disaster. He's like, oh, I forgot to tell you. They don't show up for interviews too as well. We're like, what's going on here? So we learned, I was like, it seems like there's something different about this space. People don't show up to work. People don't show up to interviews. People leave for 25 cents more. And we start to write out a math equation around this. Remember, I'm solving this problem with an engineer and a designer. And I'm the product person in this mix. Okay? Now, we end up coming up with a math equation. And we ask this person, can we try again? Because now we know we need to get a high volume of people, expecting that only 30% will show up for interviews. So we try again the next week. He hires about 60-something people. We feel really good about it. So we go back to the Starbucks guy and say, can we try running your event? Can we try to solve this problem for you? We do it. In 2 weeks, I fly the team down to San Francisco. We hire 784 people in 1 week for Starbucks. As we are uncovering this, the engineer is looking at efficiencies with technology. Wow, we need a way to schedule those interviews. I'm going to build a tool for that. We need a way to get applications. I'm going to build a tool for that. I am discovering the customer. At the same time, I'm discovering the product. The next very big event, we're like, wow, that was a success. I get an email the next Monday morning, copied Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks. This guy just saved my butt. That was the word in it. Reference customers from it. Now, the very next event I had was at an airport. And we failed miserably at that because we didn't realize that the people that had to work at an airport had to represent the traffic that came into an airport. And so we realized that was not our customer. But through this process, we were able to create a new business and a new line of revenue by discovering the customer at the same time discovering what products solve their problems. Be a missionary. Important thing, we hear a whole lot. Product people have to be evangelists. They have to go tell people all about the solution they are doing. I'm not going to spend enough time here, but I want to anchor in on this very simple premise. If you have people that work for you or work with you that don't understand why they are doing it, you have a mercenary organization. And you have to change that. Because the importance of transforming a business or solving meaningful problems means that you have to take people along the journey. It's my simple test I do in companies I go visit with. I ask an engineer, what are you working on? I say, I'm building this new feature. And I say, why? If I hear, because my product manager told me, mercenary organization. If I hear, well, because it's on the roadmap, mercenary organization. If I hear it's on my Jira ticket, on my Clubhouse board, mercenary organization. The why has to be connected to the problem you're trying to solve. Product managers, please stop saying no. I know this is a hard one for many people to hear because I think many product people say, well, my job is to prioritize and my job is to ensure that we're working on the most important things. So I am going to filter out no's a lot. As a product manager, your job is not to tell people no. Your job is to connect them to value and to outcomes. I can't remember the last time I told a CEO or a leader no. Now, if you want to write down exactly what I tell them, I will tell you. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, I think we should build this, I say the exact same thing. That's a great idea. It does not matter what you tell me. Everything is a great idea. Now, what am I doing? I'm anchoring you to know that whatever you say to me is simply just an idea. I say, that's a great idea. My next statement is, I want to make sure we succeed when we do this. See, I didn't say if, I said when. When can be any time. Doesn't mean right now. It could be 50 years from now, but when we do it. So, tell me, what problem are we trying to solve here, and how will we know we've succeeded? That's exactly what I say to every single person. Now, you don't have to be scripted in that way, but that's exactly the premise. Your job is not to say no, it's to connect people to the outcomes that are important to them. Now, one last story to wrap this up. I was on a flight. I live in Virginia, and I was working in Minnesota, so I had to commute back and forth from Virginia to Minnesota. And right after Thanksgiving, I jump on this plane, and I'm sitting in my seat, and this lady walks in, sitting right beside me, and she has a whole basket of cupcakes. You know, and she watches me look at the cupcakes, and it's like, huh. She's like, you want a cupcake? I'm like, nah, that's fine. She's like, no, please have a cupcake. You know, I'm like, I'm not a big cupcake eater, but I will try your cupcake. Why not? We're on a flight, we'll be stuck here, can't be rude. So I was like, this is actually a very nice cupcake. She's like, you know, everybody always tells me this. You know, my family lives in Virginia, I work in Minnesota, and every holiday, they make me bake cupcakes for everybody. And this time around, I baked a little too much, so I'm taking some back home. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm like, they're really, really good. She's like, yeah. And they've been telling me for years to just start a business. And I say, hey, why not? She's like, well, you know, it's so hard. I have to rent equipment. It's going to cost like $40,000. It's, you know, I researched some stuff. It's really a tough thing to get into baking and all of the risk. And I'm like, so, but you baked cupcakes for Thanksgiving. She's like, yeah, how many did you bake? It's like, well, you know, my friends are probably like 100 to 200 cupcakes. I'm like, so just bake cupcakes. She's like, what do you mean? I said, well, where do you work? She works in a big old company. She's been in the same job for over 28 years. So I said, well, why don't you just bake some cupcakes and take them to work and then put them in the break room and just watch how people interact with your cupcakes? She said, then what will happen? I'm like, I don't know. If you do that, give me a call. And I gave her my number. She's like, this is super awkward. Now, I forgot. I forgot all about this, you know? It was probably about a month later, I get a call from a lady, and she's like super excited. I'm like, whoa, hold on. I don't even know who you are. Like, what's going on here? She's like, I've got something to tell you. You don't remember me? We're on a flight. I'm like, oh, cupcake lady. And she's like, look, so, I baked cupcakes, and everybody loves me. I just watch people get so excited. They love the cupcakes. You know, somebody left me a note, the best cupcakes ever. This is super cool. I have been baking cupcakes for like a week. It's been awesome. She's like, you said I should call you. And she's like, what do I do next? I said, just bake more cupcakes. And when you go back to work, just go to Word, type up your name and your phone number, and just put it by your cupcakes. And then just watch people do that. She's like, that's it? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, and I'll call you back? Yeah, call me back. She goes, you know, Literally, 3 days later, she calls me back. She's like, look, I have been getting calls for this. People have been like talking about my cupcakes, and there's one lady is having a birthday party, and she wants my cupcakes for her birthday. I'm like, how much will you pay? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, I don't know either. I don't bake cupcakes. So guess what you're gonna do? Put a basket out there, buy your cupcakes. Just put like $2 in the basket of your own money. She's like, but they'll take it. I'm like, I don't know, but it's $2. So she put a basket out there. I said, call me. She calls me back right the next day. She's like, oh boy, my basket has $84 in it, and somebody has a note card in there with a check. It's like, a check? She's like, yes. And she has Tom's birthday. Please bake cupcakes. $80. I'm like, but you didn't put a price. She's like, well, I didn't know the price. She's like, what do I do next? I'm like, well, all you've been doing so far is baking cupcakes. So just keep baking cupcakes. You know? And I said, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You have one of those Facebook things? You're like, yeah. Well, put up a Facebook website with it and just put it right there. You have your name now, you have a phone number, put up your Facebook page. It's like, that's it? Just do that. Takes about 2.5 weeks. I get another call. She's like, I'm so sorry, I haven't called you, but I have been super busy baking cupcakes. She's like, what do I do now? She's like, I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, go look at my Facebook page. Go look at my Facebook page. And I go up there and I read review after review of people loving the cupcakes. And I said to her, wow, you're in the cupcake business. She's like, what do you mean? Well, remember we talked about you starting your own business and stuff? Well, you're in the cupcake business and you have real customers that are ready to tell the world about it. And if you're really serious about it right now, call all your family members out. For all the years they've been telling you about your cupcakes, show them your Facebook page and see how they respond. I didn't speak to her for months. I get a call and she said, look, I have a surprise for you. I have a little business and I want you to come in and I want you to talk to my team. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, just come and say a few words. It's a holiday party. I would love for you to show up. I show up, 14 employees with a big sign on her bakery. Right under the sign, it has those 3 simple words: just make cupcakes. And her talks about how fundamentally her life's changed through that, in the sense of transforming her narrative all through it. I want to challenge people when they think about how to put the user at the center, to humanize the work we do simply, and to figure out in our environment, in our companies, in our culture, what muscle we need to build. It may just be simply making cupcakes, but we've got to get good at that if we want to transform our companies. 3 key things I want to leave you with. 1, as a product manager, your job is to tackle risk. You tackle the risk up front. Good product management is eliminating or avoiding surprises. It can be that simple for the business. And you have to do that working collaboratively with a team to ensure that the things you're working on are valuable, usable, feasible, and viable for your business. Number 2, true collaboration. I mean that in the very sense of avoiding handoffs and working as one team to solve problems. If your job is to eliminate surprises for your company, you've got to do that with people that can. 3rd key thing, it is super important that you leverage the smart people within your organization to solve problems. If the first time your engineer is seeing what you want to build in sprint planning, you're creating a mercenary. We're not getting the value out of them. Their job is to solve really meaningful, hard problems for you. If you truly want to transform your organization, bring to the table the deepest knowledge of the customer. Bring to the table the best representation of the problems you're trying to solve, the best articulation of why they are important, and then work collaboratively with smart people to solve them. I will take questions. 1 question. The question is, what are the new ways to find out more things about the customer, or new ways to do a customer development program? I don't want to oversimplify the idea of connecting with customers, but I mean this in the simplest sense. If you're having trouble finding a customer for your product, you can email me and I will find them. We overcomplicate and create too many barriers around our access to customers. I tell people, talk to people. It sounds like a crazy thought. I don't waste an Uber ride ever in my life. I do customer discovery in every Uber ride and image. Probably freaks out people. I'm like, oh, yeah, tell me about what app you use. Let me see your phone. I do the weirdest things. You're stuck in the car for like 30 minutes. You might as well learn something. Right? So look, there are new tools that are emerging that did not exist in the early days about using social media. I was just working with a team at CNN, and they were like, we're finding it hard to find customers. I'm like, really? Like, go to Facebook and type in CNN socks. There's a whole group around that. Those are research people to do, right? Find a group that is like, I love CNN. Join it. If there's not one, start one on Facebook. Take your product, go to Facebook, write your product's name, and be like, it sucks. See who joins, and those are real people that have a complaint. New ways. All right. It's been my pleasure to do this. Please connect with me. Fun conference. Thank you all.